Alright guys, here's the need to know skill number 10, the final skill, polynomial operations. Alright, so this question says we're simplifying these two polynomials. So first things first, you should realize that you are subtracting. Okay, so when we're subtracting, we're technically distributing a negative 1, and when I distribute a negative 1, all these signs would change. So this will go from a positive 4x to a negative 4x squared. Sorry. Alright, this will go to from a negative 7x to a positive 7x. And this will go from a negative 1 right here to a positive 1. Okay, so now everything in the first parentheses, you bring it down. Okay, now we're going to combine like terms. Okay, so here we have an x squared. Do you see any other like term? Yep, the negative 4x squared. Negative 2x squared minus 4x squared is negative 6x squared. All right. Now we're going to combine x's. So we have a negative 8x. We have a positive 7x. Negative 8x plus 7x is negative 1x, or just negative x. Okay? And then finally, we combine our constants. So 3 plus 1 is 4. All right? And that is our result. Okay? So what about the next one? Okay, so the next one, again, we have a negative in between. All right, so that means there's technically a negative 1. And when you distribute that negative 1, all the signs change, the numbers stay the same. All right, so this will go from a positive x squared to a negative x squared. It's going to go from a positive 2x to a negative 2x. It's going to go from a negative 3 to a positive 3. Everything in the first parentheses, you bring it down. All right. Now we combine like terms. So we have a 4x squared and a negative x squared. 4 take away technically 1. 4 minus 1 is 3x squared. Alright. Now we're combining our x's. So we have a positive x and a negative 2x. Technically in front of this positive x is a positive 1. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1x. Alright. Now we're going to combine our constants. So we have a negative 5 and a positive 3. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. All right. So again, guys, just like that. Okay. And what if there was a positive right here? If there was a positive, so I'm going to make another example. If you saw 2x squared minus 3, all right, and then plus negative 3x squared plus 2x plus 1, all right. If there's a positive, all these signs stay the same, all right. So the negative 3x squared will stay the same. The positive 2x will stay the same. The 1 would stay the same. Everything in front, you bring it down, okay? So now we combine our x squared. So we have a 2x squared and a negative 3x squared, all right? So now we give me negative 1x squared. Here we have only a 2x. Do you see any other x's? No, so I only have a positive 2x, all right? And then here I have a negative 3 as a constant and a positive 1 as a constant. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. All right, so that's another example. If you had a positive sign in between, all the signs stay the same. All right, so now let's do the next one. So the question says write the expanded form. So when something tells you you're expanding, that means you're going to have something that's a lot longer, a lot more elongated than what you have here, because you're expanding it, you're making it wider. All right, so whenever we see parentheses 4x minus 3 squared, the squared on the outside tells me I'm going to write what I see inside of the parentheses twice. So I'm going to write, this is the first time, 4x minus 3, and then this is the second time. All right. But we still need to expand it, because that's not expanding it, that's just writing it twice. Expanding it means I'm going to have to FOIL. So I'm going to have to distribute my 4x to my first term and my last term in my second parentheses. 4x times 4x is 16x squared, because 4 times 4 is 16. X times x is x squared. 4x times negative 3 is negative 12x. Because 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, and you bring the x along. Now we're going to distribute the negative 3. Okay. Negative 3 times 4x is negative 12x. All right. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. All right. So whenever you do this expanded method, you'll always have two like terms in the middle. So those are your two x values. All right. everything else you would bring down. All right, so everything else you would bring down. And when I combine these, I'm just subtracting. So negative 12x minus 12x is a bigger negative, negative 24x. All right, and that is my result when I expand it. Okay, so when you expand something squared, you'll always have something that looks similar to this. All right, so let's try the next one. So again, we're writing the expanded form of this squared. So this squared means I'm going to write this how many times? Twice. So 2x minus 11 and another 2x minus 11. Okay? But again, this is not expanding. This is just writing it twice. All right? So now I'll expand it by distributing the 2x to my first term and my last term in my second parentheses. 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is x squared. All right? 2x times negative 11 is negative 22x. Now we're going to distribute the negative 11. All right? Negative 11 times 2x is negative 22x, because negative 11 times 2 is negative 22, and then you bring the x along. Negative 11 times negative 11, you should know it's positive 121. All right? So the 4x squared, you bring it down because there's no other like term. The negative 22x has another like term, which is the other negative 22x, because both of them have x's. So when I combine that, I get negative 44x, okay? And my 121, I bring it down. And this is my result, all right? So let's do the next one, guys. So the next one says we need to multiply. So we're going to have to do the same thing that we did here. We're going to have to FOIL. But this time, I'm distributing the 4x to 1, 2, 3 terms, all right? So 4x times 2x is 8x squared, all right? 4x times 5xy, so this might be tricky, so multiply the numbers first. 4 times 5 is 20. X times x is x squared. And are you multiplying two y's together? No, so we only have this y, so you just bring it along, all right? Now we're here, so 4x multiplied by y is 4xy, all right? Because again, guys, you're multiplying x and y, they're not like terms, so you just write as 4xy, all right? Now I'm going to distribute my negative 3y to each of these 1, 2, 3 terms, all right? So negative 3y multiplied by 2x is negative, so I'm going to write this in a different color so you know the difference in what I'm distributing. So this would be negative 6xy, all right? Because again, you're multiplying negative 3 times 2, which is negative 6. You're multiplying x and a y, but they're not like terms, so you just write it as xy. You could also write it as yx. That's the same thing as xy, all right? So now we distribute the negative 3y to the 5xy. That might be difficult, so take your time. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. Y times y is y squared. And then, am I multiplying by an x? No. So the x stays the same, and y times y gives me y squared. Okay? Now we're going to distribute negative 3y multiplied by y. That will give me negative 3y squared. All right? Because in front of here is technically a 1. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Y times y, y squared. All right? Now we're going to combine any like terms. Okay? So do you see any other term that has an x squared? No. So that means your 8x squared is the only term that looks just like that has an x squared. So you bring it down. All right? So now we're going to look for x squared y. All right? So do you see any x squared y? No. This is the only x squared y that I see. This is an xy squared. All right? So those are not like terms. So this is the only x squared y that I see. All right? So I just bring it down. Okay? Now I'm looking for xy's. Do you see any other xy's, guys? Yes. So I see this 4xy and a negative 6xy. So what's 4xy minus 6xy? What's 4 minus 6? Negative 2xy. All right? So do you see any xy squareds? No, I don't see any xy squareds. I just see x squared y's. All right? So that means this is the only xy squared. So I bring it down. All right. And then I'm looking for y squares. Do you see any other y squares, guys? No. So I bring this down. All right. And all of this is my result. All right. So again, guys, just like that. So next one, guys. Next one. Let's try to speed through this one. So we're gonna distribute 3 times. 2x multiplied by x is 2x squared, because technically in front of here is a 1. 2 times 1 gives me that 2. All right. 2x times negative 4xy is negative 8x squared y, because 2 multiplied by negative 4 is negative 8. X times x is x squared, and then you just bring the y along. All right. Now 2x multiplied by negative 3y is negative 6xy, because 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. X times y is xy. Good job, guys. All right. Now we're going to distribute the y. All right. So technically in front of here is a 1. So 1y multiplied by 1x. 1 times 1 is 1. Positive 1. X times y, you can't combine them, so you just have xy. All right. Now we're distributing it to the negative 4xy. So 1y multiplied by negative 4xy is negative 4, because 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. You're not multiplying by an x, so the x stays the same. But y times y is y squared. All right. Now I'm distributing it to the negative 3y. So 1y multiplied by negative 3y is negative 3y squared. Because 1 times negative 3, negative 3, y times y, y squared. All right. Now we're going to combine like terms. So the only two like terms are my xy's. So x squared y is different from xy squared. They're different because the x is squared here, and here the y is squared here. All right. So again, they're different. Okay. So everything else you would bring down. These are the only things you'll combine. So the 2x squared you bring down. The negative 8x squared y you bring down. Here you calculate negative 6xy plus 1xy is negative 5xy. And then everything else you bring down. All right. So now our final review question, guys. Our final review question. So it says, write this in this form. All right. So when you're doing this, guys, you have to remember PEMDAS. All right. So again, guys, in Jamaica, we learned BOMDAS, all right, which is brackets of division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. But in America, you do PEMDAS, which is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. All right. So that means you first evaluate, is there anything that I can calculate inside of the parentheses? No. All right. So that means I need to now apply my exponent. All right. So I need to expand what I see in here. So the 2 that's in front, I'm going to bring down, and I'm going to write what I see in here twice. Okay. So I write this twice, and the positive 5 I bring down. So let's calculate here on the inside first. So let's calculate inside of here first. All right. So I'm going to have to distribute the x to each of these terms. X times x, x squared. X times negative 3, negative 3x. Now we distribute the negative 3. Negative 3 times x, negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 3, positive 9. All right. We combine these two like terms, okay, because those are the only two terms that are the same. They both have x's. So we have x squared. Negative 3x minus 3x is negative 6x. Not negative 9, not positive 9, because you're not multiplying. All right. So again, you're just subtracting. It gets a bigger negative. And then the positive 9, you bring it down. All right. So this replaces all of this. So that means I'm going to now bring down my 2. And then I'm now going to bring down my plus 5. All right. So now we can distribute this. All right. Or now multiply. So now we distribute or multiply. 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12x. 2 times 9 is 18. Then the plus 5, you now bring it down again. All right. And then all you got to do now is combine these two constants, all right, to get your final answer, which is 2x squared minus 12x. 18 plus 5 is 23. all right? And that is this in this form, all right? Where the A is 2, your B is negative 12, and your C, your constant, is 23, all right? So let's do the same thing for the last problem, guys, the last review problem. So again, the 3, you bring it down, and then I'm going to write what I see inside of parentheses twice, all right? Because again, we see an x squared, so that means we write it twice. And in order of PEMDAS, we have to apply the exponent after we cannot do anything in the parentheses, all right? And rewrite the minus 11. So now we're going to FOIL, okay? X times x, x squared, x times 2, 2x, distribute, or FOIL, 2 times x, 2x, 2 times 2 is 4, all right? We only have two like terms, which are my x terms, all right? So I would have x squared brought down, 2x plus 2x is 4x, and the positive 4 I would also bring down, all right? So this replaces what's inside of here. So that means this 3 I bring down, this negative 11 I bring down. Now I'm gonna, multiply or distribute that 3. 3 times 3x squared is 3x squared. 3 times 4x is 12x. 3 times 4 is 12. And the negative 11 I would bring down again. Alright? So that I can get my final answer, which is 3x squared plus 12x. Now we combine our two constants. So 12 take away 11 is positive 1. Alright? And that is my result, and that is the end of your review.